Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stories Worth Telling. Today we are live with a good friend of mine that I've known for, man, seems like a long time now that like we're getting older and stuff. So we have Brianne Mattox with us today.
Hey,
Brianne, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, as a business owner, I know that's always kind of the most important piece for anything. But yeah, I'm glad to have you here because really, gosh, I think it was almost a year ago we connected when I first started my business, and that was the very first coffee meeting I think that I ever took, just to kind of see where you could help. And fast forward a year later, and you're still reaching out to see how you can help. So I love that. So why don't you just go ahead and just kind of make an introduction, tell us who you are and what you do.
yeah, absolutely. Patrick, I super appreciate it. I feel so honored. Not that I'm not a special human and individual, but for you to put me on your platform today, I'm really honored. So yeah, I usually go by Bree. It just makes it easier on people. I say, if you want to remember the cheese, that's me. So yeah, I am a real estate agent here in Colorado Springs. I primarily do residential real estate, and I am with the Integrity Home Group at Keller Williams Partners. I jumped around to a couple different brokerages when I was starting out, just trying to find the right home, and I finally found it. Keller Williams is really big on culture, really big on training, and I definitely needed that. It might look easy to be a real estate agent, but man, they kind of lie through their teeth. Really, you're taking that schooling to pass the test, and really, your training starts when you get locked in with a brokerage. And I didn't really have that concept ahead of time that I thought I'd be trained and ready to rock and roll, hitting the ground running, and that just wasn't the case. So when I finally found Keller Williams, I felt like I was home with somebody who could break down the training and really, make an investment in myself. And so then I joined a team about a year ago, and there's about four of us on the team right now. And the team leader has run some expansions in Colorado. So we've got about five different locations in Colorado. We also have some expansions now in Tennessee and Arizona and California. So we're kind of branching out with our team name with Integrity Home Group. So yeah,
That's pretty incredible. That's a lot of growth in a short amount of time for sure.
yeah, absolutely. He's only had the team for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Very well respected gentleman and very well known. And so now he's just taking little expansions at different Keller Williams and just running with it. And it's doing amazing.
That's awesome. Congratulations for a lot of that, a lot of success, this year and all that stuff, well deserved. I know you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into being able to get to where you're at here. So,
Yeah.
um, ultimately, like when you're making that decision, especially with your background in nursing and, you know, um, what ultimately made that leap of faith for you?
Yeah, so let me give you just a snippet, and I'm a talker, so it might not be a snippet. Who am I kidding? But let me give you a little snippet into it. So at age 18, out of high school, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. Do you want to go to college? Do you want to take some time off? And my mom's been medical for a very long time, close to 40 years. And she said, why don't you be a CNA and just kind of get your feet wet in the medical field? And so I did that. I went to Pikes Peak Community College and I got my CNA license, which is Certified Nursing Assistant. And I'm actually still licensed as such today. I keep my license just if I ever need a side hustle, if the market ever tanks in real estate, if that passion calls back to me again. So my license is active. So I did that for about 15 years, and I primarily worked for outpatient surgery centers. And I really enjoyed that because there was a lot of variety with the surgeries that we
Mm,
did day to day and all the different patients we got to meet and really help out. Um, in 2016, we fell on some hard times with us, with our family. And so I am totally transparent when I meet people, and this is how it kind of transpired into this new career. We ended up filing for bankruptcy back in 2016. Just hard times, just kind of a rough period in our life. And we just kind of were waving the white flag. It was just, we needed to get that black cloud from over our head. During the same time, our son was diagnosed with ADHD. So he was just going through a lot of struggles. So we just felt like at that point in time, let's go ahead and just wipe it out with a clean slate. That way I could be more present to our son and I wasn't just working just to pay the bills that were never going to get paid off. Um, and then so after that, it was kind of like, well, okay, I'm starting over. And, I was forced to quit my job in order to do the bankruptcy. And I thought, what am I good at? What do I want to do? This is kind of the period in my life where I could start over and maybe I could make an investment in myself with a new career. And so I did some nannying jobs, some babysitting jobs just for the next couple of years, just to have some passive income. My dear sweet husband really holds down the household financially. And so he said, why don't you just take some time off and just breathe? And so we did that. And, I got talking to my parents and I said, I feel like I'm a very business savvy individual. I have organization skills. I feel like I'm a great people person. I love chatting with people. What does that look like? I don't want to go back to college for 4 years, 6 years plus, to get a degree and go into debt. So what does that look like? And my dear mother tossed out, well, you should talk with our realtor who posted our home up for sale and just maybe ask him to coffee and see if he can share with you the nitty gritty. And so, long story short, Greg Lennon, who I believe is not active in the residential real estate world, he's doing photography for real estate.
Hmm.
But that kind gentleman went to coffee with me, spent 2 hours, and ultimately, what I got out of it, because there was a lot that I did, was whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, and that's as simple as that. The phone's not going to start ringing off the hook. The business isn't going to fall in your lap. You do have to put yourself out there. But it can be a really wonderful industry to work in, and growth in so many different factors. And so I pitched it to my husband after I talked over with coffee, and my husband, without even letting me finish my sentence, says, do it. Um, and my husband is a big supporter of mine, but I've never heard that tonality in his voice of, you can totally do this. I believe in you. The schooling is fairly cheap. It doesn't take that long. Go make an investment in yourself and do something new. Do something where you feel like you have a voice. You love to educate people. You love to make new relationships. Go do it. And here I am.
That's awesome. I love to hear the stories of how people get to or got to where they're at. And that's why I love this segment and doing this podcast is because as long as I've known you, I still didn't know the full complete story, right? And it's awesome to hear. And I love the transparency piece. I think there's so many people that oftentimes are maybe afraid to showcase some of that stuff. So thank you so much for that because that takes a lot of guts,
Yeah,
frankly.
right. It also is helpful and relatable when you're meeting clients who have gone through some trials and tribulations, whether that was bankruptcy, whether that's divorce. Not that anybody else talking with them is not a human, but you can just break it down a little bit more to, hey, we were massively in debt and we could not see the light at the end of the tunnel and had to choose to make something different. And when you take that leap of faith, to do that and you continue to push and continue to thrive in that business knowing that you're capable doing so, and it also just really is helpful that I could grow as an individual, not just as a businesswoman, just as Bree. I felt like I was stuck with my other career and I was kind of spinning my wheels, and so I think wholeheartedly it just allowed me to grow, which allows my family to grow and see what I'm capable of, that really now there is no ceiling.
Yeah.
If you want to be honest, there's so many levels you can continue to go.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And one thing that I've noticed here, which again, I've been probably more privy to than maybe a lot of people. But can we give a shout out to Darcy? Because, man, she is your number one supporter. Sounds like she's led you in a couple of different directions, to help you figure out maybe the career path as well. And
Yeah.
obviously, both your parents are incredible. Again, I'm privy to that. But I just want to take a moment to just kind of say thank you to them for helping you turn out to who you are today.
Yeah, thank you. I adore my parents. I have a very special relationship with them. I am an only child. And we moved out to Colorado. Next month will be 24 years that we've been here. And I don't see myself moving anytime soon. I absolutely adore living here. But yeah, they just, as many times as I've wanted to give up in this industry, in this path that I've taken, because it really forces you to open up your mind and really believe in the fact that you went from a 9 to 5 job to now you're running your own business essentially. Keller Williams is my umbrella. but it's up to Bree to figure out how to run her business. And so there were so many times where I was falling flat on my face. And, they're like, you need to keep going. It's not time to give up yet. You haven't tried hard enough. People need to buy into you, and success is not made overnight, and everybody knows that. But when you jump into something new, you're just so anxious to finally get there.
Yes.
And success is different for everybody. But yeah, my mom Darcy, my dad Doug came over yesterday. Between them and actually my son just turned 12. He's like, you can make it. Oh, there's another house going up. Oh, that's great. And so I really, really have a great support system, and I really cannot thank them ever enough.
That's awesome. I'd love to see that. And it's such, I don't want to say it's a rare occurrence nowadays, but the dynamic that you guys have is definitely special, and you can see that, when it's with your family and all pieces are involved. I talk about the support from my wife, especially,
Yeah.
because she was a business owner long before I would, and I don't know if I ever would have had that trust in myself without her. So to
Right.
hear all that support, that's a really great thing. Guys, if you are watching this live, just go ahead and type in hashtag live. Feel free to chime in any questions in regards to any questions that you have in regards to maybe who Bree is as a person, or questions that you might have if as an entrepreneur. We're also going to talk to her about some of the advice that she might offer, and some of the things that she's learned along the way to be able to pass on that knowledge. But yeah, again, let us know if you're catching this on the replay, hashtag replay, and you can still type in the chat, and we'll definitely get back to you. Bree has said that she'll make sure that she's watching that. We've got a longtime friend here that Kristen says hi.
Hey.
Kristen, thank you for tuning in. Good to see you. And so, yeah, so that allows us to kind of segment into this next section here. Like, so it's going on 3 years now, right, for the real estate, or 2.5 years?
Right around 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the first couple of months of my business was just a little bit rocky trying to find my way. So
Sure.
I'll be coming up in the new year at 3 years. But yeah, a solid 2 to 2.5 of running business, and feeling like I kind of know what I'm doing out there.
Of course. And so, what were some of the greatest hurdles that you had to overcome to be able to kind of get to where you are now? And again, we're always a work in progress, for sure. But, maybe what are some of those hurdles that you feel like that you really had to really focus on?
Yeah, so I think 100% I did not buy into myself from day one.
Mm,
I think there are a lot of teachable things and coachable things as far as how to run your business, as far as tracking your numbers, things like that. If I would have bought into myself early on, I would be in a different place. And not to say that I'm not happy with my progress and my successes right now, but I definitely would be further on. It's truly amazing when you work a 9 to 5 job and you're punching the clock and you're working for, corporate essentially, and you're being told what to do at a certain time and when to take a break. Um, you start to just, you kind of have your blinders on, and you don't really, not that you don't have thoughts for yourself, but when you go to work, you do your job, you punch out, and you go home. And so when basically I signed on to Keller Williams and they said, okay, great, here's Keller Williams, but now here's your business. And I'm like, what? And it's so amazing because, like yourself, oh, hey, Mandy, like yourself, you're seeing from an outside perspective. And so you can see what I can bring to the table. You can see the type of, person that I am before I ever got into real estate, and, taking those attributes over. And so honestly, if you don't believe in yourself, you won't make it very far very quickly. And so I was coached pretty much from the first month that I joined Keller Williams. And I'll have to give a shout out. I'll tag her later as well. But Kim Bland is big in our community, and she's a big coach. And it's truly amazing because it was basically like therapy every week going in there, because she's like, you're totally capable of that. You totally can do that. And, every week it was like, well, you should try door knocking, and you should try this. Have you done that? And, I said, I go door knocking, and it's like, why would they want to list their house with me after I just knocked on the door for 30 seconds? And she said, why wouldn't they? And I
mm,
didn't have an answer. And she said, why wouldn't they? I know that they only know you for 30 seconds, but if your present is like this, and you're offering something of value and you're contributing something to their life, why wouldn't they want to work with you? It's you putting that belief that nobody buys from door to door salesmen anymore, and nobody does that, or that's not the typical. Um, so I'm continuing to still buy into myself. That's a work in progress for me, just emotionally, because I don't know if it's just me as a woman, or me still trying to, do those things. But man, it's hard to believe in yourself when you're trying something new that people want to work with you and people enjoy being around you and that you are confident in knowing what you're doing. So 100% without a doubt, you can be trained on sales, you can be trained on tracking your numbers, how to use technology. You can't really be trained on how to buy into yourself. And if
Right.
you don't, then nobody else will. So
Uh,
even though Patrick has believed in me, my parents have believed in me, until it comes from myself, I won't be able to grow any further. And so I'm almost there, but man, there's some tough days.
Absolutely, and like I said, it's a constant work in progress. We're always learning, we're always growing. There's always something that we can do to fine tune ourselves, But it's the psyche, the human spirit. It's all a weird place, right? Because it's in some ways it's so easy to suppress, like you talked about in the corporate world, or maybe if you're people who've been in bad situations, right? They kind of get beat up on, but then we also see kind of that phoenix rise, and we see some of the greatest stories that come from that. I just recently used an analogy that if you're familiar with baseball, a curveball. Everyone always says, life's throwing me a curveball, but statistically speaking, because of the trajectory and the way that the ball spins when you hit a curveball, you actually have a higher chance to hit a home run than you do off of a fastball. And so a lot of people, really have to take the time to understand who they are. I remember I had to do personality tests to really identify my strengths, my weaknesses, because I was so conflicted in regards to starting a business and things like that. So I love the fact that that has been a hurdle that you've been able to not only overcome but really thrive. I mean, just the way that you carry yourself, the way that your Facebook has transformed, the way that you talk about your family, all those things, has been a great transformation that has come with that belief in self as well. So, thank you so much for sharing that. And Mandy, thank you so much for tuning in. She says, "Way to go, Bree. Love, cheers to all small business Colorado Springs." We were just talking about that before we went live. And amen to not buying into myself. Thank you for bringing that to light. Absolutely. I think that's a piece that a lot of people maybe forget, right? Because they work so hard. And I get it because we don't ever want to maybe go back to some of those things, but it's super, super important to remember where we came from and have those humble roots. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Um, if you were talking to maybe somebody new who's coming into entrepreneurialism and being a business owner, or people who maybe they're unsure if this is kind of the right path for them, what is something that you think is beneficial for them to maybe take a look at and evaluate, or what are some of those key tips that you think is beneficial for any business, to be able to take a look at?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even matter if we're talking about real estate or insurance or things like that. It could be anything that you're wanting to start out new. Honestly, research your market where you're wanting to start that business or dive into something new. Reach out to people and network. I would go to networking places that would have 10 other realtors, and I would never want to go because I'm like, what's another? It's a dime a dozen. Well, maybe those 10 don't fit well with that person, but maybe I step in there and I just bring a different light to it. So don't ever hesitate to be another in the bunch. The other thing is, I would take out all kinds of agents and say, can I please buy you coffee? Can I please buy you lunch? Can I have an hour of your time to give me your greatest tips to help me flourish in this business? And so I really think that you have to hit it from all aspects. So doing your own research, making sure that you're invested in yourself for the long haul. And then, if people aren't willing to meet with you, don't automatically assume or judge that they're too busy or that they're too bougie or whatever reason you've come up with. People are busy. But those people that do take time, I mean, write a thank you card, blast them on Facebook, buy them lunch, because our time is precious, no matter what business we're in. And so I think as long as you've got it from all angles and you have a real good grasp on what you're about to head into, that will help. if you're diving in the deep end blindly, I'm just not so sure that's great. I mean, it works out for some people, but I have a little bit more of a cautious personality. If I take like the DISC test, I'm a lot more cautious. I want to research, I want to know, I want to talk to people before I go waste that time and money for something that may not truly be for me. And so that's kind of where I started my journey and continue to talk with people. And somebody actually seeked me out a couple weeks ago and wanted to speak with me. Bought me coffee and we sat in the middle of a parking lot because unfortunately the Starbucks we picked, we couldn't sit inside. So we made it work and sat under a shade tree and just shared my knowledge. And that was so humbling for somebody to look up to me and invite me out to get my side of things after I've been in for a few years. So the more the merrier. Put yourself out there, get all the advice you can, and then run with it.
Yeah, and I think that if you guys are listening to this or catching this, we were just talking about earlier how Colorado Springs specifically, is so unique in the fact that we love to support small and local, but we have an equal amount of corporate, places here that all continue to thrive together. And it's really not like that everywhere. And so I think that's part of the reason that has made up a big portion of the success here of Colorado Springs. Why we're the number one housing market, and of course, the military is a big attribute to that as well. And so, the other thing that Bree really talked about, and I thought that this was so interesting, because people are having these conversations, which I'm really glad to hear, is every day we see more and more businesses starting. In fact, I had a client call me right before this and said that they're going to start a new business, and you know, and so again, nobody has really kind of the crystal ball, but if you wanted to maybe share some of the metrics or share kind of maybe any of your thoughts, I don't want to say insight because again, nobody really truly knows what's going to happen here. But what are some of the things that people are talking about in the industry in regards to what the housing market is going to look like?
Um, Nobody freaking knows. I'll have clients come up to me and say, well, can't we just wait like 3 months? I feel like it's gonna, balance back out in the market, or I feel like it's gonna flip to a buyer's market. And I read articles weekly and I try and keep abreast of all the situations and scenarios. Honestly, right now, we're in a volatile state across the world. And I don't know that I would listen to one person over another. So all we can do is share our best information. Colorado Springs really, really thrives because of our military. When I moved here, we had just over 300,000 people, and now almost 24 years later, we've got well over 700,000.
Wow.
Yeah, this place keeps bringing people, number one, just for its natural beauty. I adore looking at Pikes Peak every day. You couldn't get more handsome if you tried. Um, and so, we keep getting rated number one for jobs and number one for tourism and number one for this. And every time you turn around, Colorado is on top. And so I think it brings people here in droves. The problem is our inventory sucks. Um, and it's due to a variety of things. People are staying in their homes a lot longer. So the studies used to be that people were staying in their homes 5 to 7 years. It's looking right around 13 years that people are staying in their homes. So people don't want to put their homes on the market. They're finally comfortable. They're finally in a good financial situation where it just doesn't make sense to level up for them. Um, we can't keep up with the demand. And
Mm.
so I don't have a crystal ball. Personally, I would hope that it would settle down here soon. I have some buyers that are just frustrated day in and day out. We're struggling to find them a house. Their offers are not being accepted. I'm pulling all the tricks out of my hat. And it's just unfortunate. And so it's a combination of we just don't have the inventory to cater for the amount of people that are out there. Interest rates are just too good right now, so everybody's capitalizing on that. And so I just have to make sure that I break it down and I educate people to the best of my abilities and knowledge for how I keep up with the market. But honestly, forbearance, they just extended until the end of December.
Mm.
So we're not going to see a whole lot of wave of foreclosures and short sales for another 9 months to a year, really seeing a wave of them for people wanting to invest and pick up those properties. I get asked all the time that, people want to get a good deal and look at a foreclosure, but there's a lot more than just getting a good deal. There's
Right.
a lot of research, a lot of paperwork, a lot of things that come into play when you're doing that. And most folks that are looking at picking up those distressed properties are going to be paying cash, not having a loan.
Sure.
So I don't have any predictions better than the next person. I used to live like far into the future. Like I'd plan my life months in advance and I'd take trips. And I literally am not planning even until next week, until Friday night is here, because there's just too many things going on. But personally, I really hope it settles down a little bit. It's kind of gotten out of hand when homes are going for 20, 30, 40,000 over and people are fighting with 20 offers on the table and they just can't catch a break. And it's something that they desire to move into a home. They've dreamt about it for a while. They want to capitalize on the interest rates, and it just can't happen for a lot of people. And it's disappointing and frustrating. I'm fortunate with the business I have had, and I'm very blessed that, I'm making a good living. But those people pull at your heartstrings when you're looking at 15 to 20 homes day in and day out, and they don't even have a chance. They just get stuck at the bottom of the pile. So I'm just hoping personally that we can settle down a little bit and come back maybe to a balanced market, because it's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, totally understand. And thank you so much for just kind of leveling that out because I think there's so much conversation, so many people with their thoughts and theories, and it's just nice to hear it from somebody who's actually in the industry versus people who are just hoping or maybe think that they know and stuff like that. So Lauren Chesmore, thank you so much for tuning in. She says that's me. I don't want to move anytime soon. Understandable. And then she also said the same. Can't plan what you don't know exactly. And so, yeah, you're definitely hitting the ball on the head. And so it is an interesting thing because everybody seems to have an input as to that depending on what perspective you're coming from, right? Because I think from people who are looking to maybe collect some more properties for rentals or to add to their portfolio, they're kind of hoping. You've got home wholesalers who are also hoping that the market drops quite a bit, or maybe that forbearance comes a little bit sooner. um, you know, but ultimately, like, it's cyclical and it'll always kind of go back around and circle back. So, the best we can do is just kind of live day to day in this market and just hope that again that the people are able to be able to get that home and be able to fulfill those dreams. So
Yeah, moving is not cheap. You've got movers, you've got time off of work, you've got all kinds of stuff. So it's not just the fact that you can level up or downsize or things like that. I mean, it's a chore to move, and so if people are comfortable, in their homes and especially financially, and don't want to rock the boat, I commend them for that. But I mean, it's just a tough market out there.
sure, sure. Um, we we're about halfway through, and I really like to spend a little bit of time, and we did just a small snippet here already, but there's a small amount of segment, and this is something that I've kind of really learned is so important is to really to just kind of take that time to kind of maybe give thanks and acknowledgement. I try to do that at least once a week, whether it's on Facebook or reaching out via email, something like that. But I really think that it's important to kind of maybe take that time, just in case you haven't. You do a really fantastic job with that. I know I get cards, handwritten cards, in the mail all the time, which is awesome. So thank you very much for that. But is there anybody at this point in time that you would like to maybe highlight, to give a shout out to, or just say thank you to?
Yeah, you are in that boat of my thank you, because it's just truly amazing how you give and pour into people. And I've known you long before we were business folks, and so I know that your heart and you are through and through the same Patrick, whether business or personal.
Thank
Um,
you.
but it just that has attributed to me continuing. Beyond you, of course, it's my mom and my dad, of course, the cliche people that you always want to, be thankful for. But I've realized that there are people out there that their own family, their own flesh and blood don't support them in any manner,
Hmm.
and don't continue pushing them when they know darn good and well that they're capable of such. Um, and then just a couple people. So Stacy Leonard is actually my team leader, and Stacy is a mama bear. So she will push me when it's time to be pushed. But she's also there as just a friend and a confidant and somebody who's like, you're totally capable of that, or we're going to go do this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And so to have somebody that's very well rounded, that isn't just your superior in some manner, that really is a team player. So 100%, Stacy really is just somebody that I value in my life. Sly Martinez, I don't know if you know that gentleman. We used to work at a different brokerage together before
Mm.
Keller Williams, and he has just stayed in touch with me and said, you know, you can do it. I want you at Keller Williams. Here's what we have to offer. And he's just a really awesome guy. So I always love giving him a shout out. And then last but not least, and I know you know who this person is, and she's very big in our community. And I've told her a bunch of times that I look up to her, but Angela Fugate,
Mm.
and I'll tag her as well.
Yeah.
She just is the most honest, transparent, human, but the most humble as well. So she knows her stuff, and you don't push her around, and she stands up for what's right and has a voice. And while I do that behind the scenes, I don't feel that I've made a presence enough yet to be able to do that without being judged or ridiculed or reported or God knows
Mm.
what. Um, but I just look up to her because she's just the realest mom, the realest realtor. She's so humble. She stages homes. I mean, she just jumps through hoops for her clients. And she's incredibly successful, but she doesn't flaunt it. And I really
Mm.
just adore people that no matter what level of success, and we all have a different vision on what success means to
Right.
us. Of course, I think she's very successful, and that's just not financially, but just the realness about her is just what I continue to want to be for people. And so that transparency in the beginning of this segment of, you know, telling you that I went through a bankruptcy and telling you this and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm an open book to anybody. And I think when we get on each other's level and we're not a business person or, you know, a higher up or, you know, different ranking, people buy into you more when you're just real.
Yeah.
And so those are probably the closest people that I can give thanks to. And I'm really trying each month to write handwritten cards in addition to the birthday cards, which I like to do because it's rare nowadays with all of our technology and such.
Right.
Is trying to do cards of gratitude. So at least a couple a month, whether that was, you know, somebody, you know, like you that reached out and have done a spotlight, or somebody that dropped a basket at my door and I didn't ask, or, you know, the neighbors. Took my son the other night. We had to put our sweet dog down, and so the neighbors
Mm.
took him. So I wrote a card to them and just try to go above and beyond for people to know they're appreciated. Life is a rat race, and right now with what we're living in, I think those simplicities go by the wayside. And so I want please and thank you. I want you're appreciated. I love you. I adore you. I want those things to come back because there's such a disconnect right now that everything's done virtually, or people don't have the same outlook as you with what's going on, and so people tend to judge and they get, you know, their wall up. And so I'd like for those simplicities to come back, please and thank you. I appreciate you. I love you. Because it's just a rat race out there. We're running around with chickens with our heads cut off nowadays, and it's only been exacerbated by COVID on what stressors everybody's going through. So I'm trying to do that more and more. I'm just showing my gratitude to folks.
Yeah, I love that, right? And it was funny because when I first started the business, one of the things that I would do is I would just tag massive amounts of people, right? And it was basically like all of my connections from the week.
Yeah.
And I even had somebody message me and they're like, I'm not mad. I just don't understand why you're consistently tagging me in this and stuff. And I was like, because one, it gives me the opportunity to catch up and relive my week, right? Because we're so busy, sometimes it's hard. I was like, two, it gives me the opportunity to just kind of let you know that I'm really grateful for the time that we spent, the connection that we had, because again, those are as I get busier, as you get busier, those things are going to kind of go from by the wayside. And so while I have the time, I really need to be focusing in that. And not only that, but eventually I plan to have employees. I plan to have these things, and it starts with the culture and it trickles down. So I have to start that precedence now. Um, and then it's funny, like sometimes people joke and they're like, "Oh, I made the list," right? And it's not like I'm not trying to exclude anyone. It's just that that's me re going through and just kind of saying thank you without having to like maybe go completely overly the top for every single person just because I don't have that type of time.
Right.
So it's interesting just to kind of see the little things that like that you do that again, even the appreciation for that maybe goes by the wayside a little bit and stuff like that. But it is truly important, I think, for any sort of business owner to stay on top of those things because it makes a big difference. And that's again,
Yeah.
5,200 realtors, right? And we got to make sure that you're staying top of mind, at least to the clients that you're working with. So,
Essentially, we all do the same thing, right? Your
yes,
insurance guy does the same thing, realtors do the same thing, whatever.
yes,
We all do the same thing. So, how are you differentiating yourself and how do you want people to buy into you?
right,
Well, you've got to stay true to yourself. You've got to go above and beyond and provide things just a skosh more than the next person.
sure,
So everybody knows a realtor can sell a house and buy a house and run through a contract, but really it's, are you invested in them? Are you holding their hand all the way through? Are you educating them? I was thinking last night, I'm on track to hit my goal and I'm confident that I'm going to hit it. But really, I'm focusing on I've had quality relationships this year, and I've had quality in the fact that I've had a growth mindset. And so, really, if I don't grow, then I can't grow my business and my clients can't grow. And it just becomes this circle of this has to happen before this and this. And so, even if I don't hit my goal for whatever reason, I know that I've made impactful relationships in these people's lives. And I really also want to point out the industry's also gotten a bad rap because a lot of brokers, a lot of real estate agents will, sign on the dotted line and then they'll show up at closing and take their money and run. And I'm invested before we even ever meet, trying to make sure that you're taken care of and I make sure we get all your needs. Then we meet and then I'm running through the whole process with you and beyond. And that's the difference. And so everybody does their follow ups differently. I have a kind of systematic way that I follow up. But one of my clients who, adored me throughout the process, we're taking her to lunch. My lender and I that closed the deal with them. It's her birthday next week. And I'm like, why not? I want to take her out for her birthday. It's a way to see her again, check in on her house with all the upgrades that she's done, and show her that excuse me, I didn't just collect the paycheck and run away and never contact you again. I'm really invested to want to be invited to things and want to come over and want to chat with you like an old girlfriend. So that's what's most important to me. And so I'm trying to not change the industry. I just want to change the perception of everybody out there that brokers are good people, real estate agents are good people. And while we do make sometimes a really good, healthy paycheck, there's a lot of investment behind it starting from before we actually ever physically meet. The conversations beforehand, the conversations afterwards, and the longevity of a relationship is what I pride myself on.
sure, absolutely. And there's a lot of work that goes behind scenes, a lot of stamping out fires and late nights, a lot of hair pulling.
Some tears, I'm not gonna lie, some tears.
Yes, yes. It's but I think if you're not having those moments, you know what I mean? Because even from the insurance side, I still have to go through some of those things. Um, it just makes it real, but it also makes you grateful, right? To know that I chose this and that's okay because I don't think I ever had that much passion where I ever cried at my job working in a call center,
Yeah,
right? Um, And so I think that just kind of showcases a lot of the passion that you have, for what you're doing and that you want it to go right because,
yeah,
people have entrusted you in this position. So,
yeah.
so before we fire off, just kind of these last bit of kind of get to know Bree questions. If you're watching this on the live or on the replay, you can reach out to Bree. Her information is right here. So www.mattoxhomes.com. That's Mattox maddoxrealestate@gmail.com, and of course 719-231-1631. And again, I know Bree, so she's open to connecting with you, even if it is not on a business related level. She just wants to meet and help out people, so much myself, which is why we get along so great because we're similar in that mindset. So definitely reach out, make a connection. If you're maybe new or thinking of business, she would be an excellent resource for you as well. And if you work or are looking to work with realtors, she would also be an excellent resource. Okay, so staple question here. If you weren't in real estate, and let's say that you had no ties, so no financial ties, no worries of time, maybe even kids or family or spouse, whatever. What were some of the ultimate things that you'd want to cross off that bucket list, or where do you see yourself?
So if I did not pursue the medical path and the real estate path, I wanted to be an interior designer or a dancer, like a backup dancer for hip hop group or whatever.
Okay.
I love music, all music. And I just loved dancing when I was younger. Not that I'm not young now, but younger. Um, and that probably wouldn't have led me very far because I have knee issues. I've had surgery, so I probably wouldn't have made it very far. I decided to try interior design. I couldn't even draw a 3D like cube, so I didn't think I could make it very far as an interior designer. I think I was relying too much on technology and I couldn't even draw like a stick figure.
Mm,
um, as far as my bucket list, everybody has goals personally and professionally and things like that. I want to travel. Um, my husband is 45, and we were planning on a cruise this December for our anniversary, and that just got canceled. But
mm,
he's never been on a cruise. He's never been out of the country. And so we just realized that it's really tough because a lot of people work paycheck to paycheck and live just to pay their bills. And so, with or without real estate, travel has always been top of our mind. And my husband came out of nowhere the other day and said he wants to go to Switzerland. So, by golly, we're going to Switzerland sometime soon.
that's awesome. That's
um, yeah, my other bucket list is I really, really, really would like, and I'm going to strive to get my '69 Camaro SS. I've had a love for that car forever and ever. And while I don't want it to be a super big project car, I'd like it to be kind of drivable, ready to go. I am making that my goal by my 40th birthday. So I've got a little over 4 years
okay.
that I want to make that happen. So kind of the cliche, typical travel cars. Sounds materialistic, but it's something for me that is an achievement.
Well, I'll keep my ears out through any of my clients if they have one for sale for you.
Yes, please.
So just a couple other, and I thought these would just kind of be fun, just to kind of get to know you a little bit more. Do you have any nicknames? And if you could give yourself a nickname, what do you think it would be?
I'm so embarrassed. My nickname is Sassy. I've had that name ever since my best friend gave it to me when we were preteens. And that was actually my old email was Sassy. I think it's fitting in certain instances, depending on who I'm around. I definitely can be a little sassy. Um, no other real nicknames. My parents call me Boo, but that's just a thing that they've done forever. Um, but yeah, I'm so embarrassed. But yeah, sassy has followed me through and through all these years.
So it's funny. I just put in hashtag Mattox Real Estate and hashtag Sassy. So feel free to reach out with hashtag Sassy in the comments, guys.
I'm being 100 here. I'm being 100. I still live up to the sassy.
Are you more likely to survive without coffee or without alcohol?
Well, I don't drink coffee. I
Oh,
drink chai tea. Uh,
okay.
in that context, it would be coffee all day long. I could survive without.
Sure. All right. And then last two questions here. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Mm, I love that. And I don't know that there's really one piece of advice other than going back to believing in yourself, because that stems from within. And if you don't believe in yourself, you can't give to others, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I really think that is just the simplest answer. If you don't believe in yourself, you really can't thrive, you can't grow, you can't, expand on things. So I don't have like one particular thing that, Joe Blow said to me. It's just kind of believing in yourself will really expand a lot of things for you. And so that's a constant thing that I think a lot of people have to work on, whether that's relationships, whether that's business, whether that's whatever. Um, but I have transferred a lot of this over to our son. And trying to teach him lessons. So when he comes with me to do showings or we drop a sign in the yard or things like that, I'm just kind of running through the daily of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, to be a business owner, and what that looks like. He has aspirations to open up a business when he is able to. And so I'm just passing along all the knowledge that I get from anybody and everybody that resonates with me, as well as just daily, constant interaction with how this world works and what you truly are capable of. And I already believe in him because I'm his mama, of course. But instilling those beliefs in him early on that he truly is so intelligent, so capable. People want to work with him, that, he can hustle and open up a business at 16, 18, early if you want. There's YouTube stars. So I think I'm just fortunate in that manner that whatever I learn and take nuggets from people, that I just keep passing down, and hopefully he will believe in himself a lot sooner and invest in himself to do those things, because mama's still taking a little bit of time.
Well, I love that, and I love that we can set our children up for success to really do anything that they truly want. I think oftentimes when you get to adulthood, you kind of stop dreaming because of either your situation or where you're at, and you oftentimes comparing yourself to others. But to be able to really set your kids up to really push them in whatever direction that they're really passionate about, and to kind of groom them for that and get them set up for all those things, I think is amazing. And I love the fact that you're doing that for your son now. So,
Yeah.
um, okay. So, last question here. Um, are there any household chores that you secretly enjoy?
Vacuuming.
Vacuum is actually very therapeutic in my mind. I don't mind it.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if I like seeing the lines on the carpet. I don't know if I like hearing, as gross as it all is, but we have stuff in our house, and when it sucks up the stuff, I don't know. But yes, I am a weirdo. I'm putting it out there again. I like vacuuming. Anything else I really don't love. So if the boys, save the chores and it's vacuuming, I'm all about it.
Hmm, that's awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time and coming on here. I know some of the questions were kind of like out of the blue, so I hope that thank you for rolling with the punches on that. And thank you for the insight. I think that there's a lot of glam right now because the industry is doing so well, at least right here. But, being able to kind of bring us back to reality in terms of some of that stuff, that, it's still a product of hard work, that it's still a lot of different pieces that, is constant, on that, to paint that realistic picture. I think that's really important, but also all the nuggets of advice that you gave us as well. So, guys, if you are catching this and you do want to catch up or get a chance to connect with Bree, hashtag Mattox Real Estate, Mattox, or hashtag Sassy. We can dive into that as well. But yeah, is there anything else that you would like to close with, or is there anything that we can do as a community here in Colorado Springs to better support you?
So nothing that you can do at the time to support me, but I would love to share my newest favorite shirt. And I've gone a couple places with this shirt, and people are like focusing and reading on it. It came up on my Facebook, and Facebook has those algorithms where it's like, you need this, you need to
Yes,
buy this.
sure.
So the shirt essentially just says, more peace, more creativity, more sunsets, more adventures. Basically, do more and live more.
Love it.
So today is Hump Day, which we all love Hump Day because we're almost there. We're coming up on a holiday weekend. And this shirt just makes me feel good. And I feel like when people read it, it's a positive message to, especially with the world right now, we just need to do more. And it doesn't have to be anything monetary or anything. It could just be a smile and opening up a door. And we're all guilty of just, like I said, running around, chicken with our head cut off. So I think if we can just take a step back and do more. And so maybe somebody will get something out of this segment. Maybe somebody will reach out. And again, you can reach out for mom questions, house questions, nail questions. I don't care what. It does not have to be about business. But I think if we can just do more and give more, even in the simplest manner, I think we're all going to get through this.
I love that. Great and simple message, and something like you said we definitely need right now in today's times. So,
Yeah.
guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Stories Worth Telling. Again, every business owner, every single person has had a journey to be able to get where they're at, and we're trying to go ahead and get there to be able to undiscover or to discover and uncover how they got there. So, if you yourself are a business owner and are interested in coming on, please reach out. And as always, be good and be well to each other, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take care.
Thanks so much.